snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! So I am here today to do a joint book review. I have two books to talk to you about and I'm grouping these together because they both got the same rating for me. However, I did buy one of them and the other one I was sent for review, so we'll talk about the one I was sent for review first. That is The Dragon's Blade, The Reborn King, and it's by Michael R. Miller. And I think you'll all agree the cover is pretty darn lovely. I absolutely love the cover, and I was contacted directly by the author for this. He asked me if I would be interested in this. I don't accept a huge amount of indie published things, but this one sounded like it would be something I would be interested in, and so I decided yes, I will pick this one up, I will give it a go, and hopefully I will really enjoy it. And I'm very, very glad that I did, because I did really enjoy this. Didn't really know what to expect when I picked this one up, because I guessed it was about dragons obviously, but other than that I wasn't really sure, and it is about dragons. The thing I will say about this is that it doesn't fall into the trap of a lot of indie published works. I find a lot of indie published works, not all of them, but a lot of them, are sent to me and they have a lot of spelling mistakes, they have a lot of grammar issues, and they don't really flow as stories because they haven't been edited properly. This book, I don't know if he had a proper editor or not, but he definitely can write, and he can write well, and I think that is something that is hugely undervalued and is something that a lot of indie authors don't seem to put enough effort into. This book was absolutely fine. I don't think I noticed any spelling mistakes or typos. I don't think I had any sort of grammar issues like that, which is something that I have a concern about when it comes to indie books. So this was good. It didn't have that. Tick one. The next thing is that it's a fantasy book, and it's an adult fantasy book, and it focuses on dragons. Now I will say that these are not the sort of dragons like this. They're not that. They're not big dragony creatures. They are sort of humanoid people who have evolved from dragons to human form over time, and they have left their bestial forms behind, so they are not dragon beasts anymore, but they do have some of the abilities that dragons have. For example, they have like superhuman strength and things like that, and they live for a very long time. So even though they're not dragon in form, they do have some of the abilities that dragons have still. This follows a character called Dania, and Dania is the son of the king, and the king of the dragons has been leading them in a war against this evil wizard character for a very long time. He is their enemy and has been for many years, and he's been fighting against the fairies, the wizards, and the humans for a long time, and the dragons as well. And so he basically is not a nice guy, and the Dragon King has been leading his dragons against him. But at the time we pick up the story, Dania is frustrated with his father because they're both old, they're both intelligent, they've lived for a lot longer than humans by this point, but Dania doesn't feel like his father is managing things as well as he could, and he feels like his father is being cowardly, and so he decides that instead of his father, he would be better in charge. Now, this is basically a wish come true for him, because unfortunately, his father is killed very early in this book and he has to take over, but it's not how he imagined it at all, and it's definitely not the way he anticipated doing so, and it's very interesting the way that he does. I'm not going to say anything more than that, other than I just thought it was really interesting. We follow Dania, and we follow him as a character when he is leading his people and fighting this war, and then we go back and we see him as a younger form of himself, which is really interesting. I felt like this book dealt with that progression really well. We got the action and adventure quite early in, and then we got back and we went into hearing about the backstory. We heard about him growing up, we heard about him training and learning to be a great person and a leader and a dragon and all of these things, and I felt like that was done really nicely. I do think that this could have been a longer book. I do think that there were some things at the ending that felt rushed to me and didn't feel like they were given quite enough time. I would have liked to see more development on things as opposed to having it any shorter. I would have liked to see more, but that is more of a nitpicky thing because there's going to be a second one at some point in the future. I don't know necessarily when. In terms of the epicness and the fun of this series, it does have very sort of classic ideas. It does have wizards and fairies and things like that, but it uses them in a fairly modern way. It uses them in an original way, and I liked that was how he decided to approach it. He didn't decide to go down the route of very traditional, boring, old, grumpy wizards. It was more an interesting character wizard who would get involved in the adventure and not just stay locked up in his tower. I like that. I also felt like the fairies and the dragons united themselves and they did things that maybe they would not normally have done, but because of this war that is ongoing, they are forced to do these things. And I felt like it was good the way that they sort of agreed on what they did and terms and conditions and made things work, because these two races are quite vastly different, as are the humans again, and managing the three of them is kind of the job of the wizard in this. And I really liked seeing how he had to deal with these three vastly different races, getting on each other's nerves, doing things that were against custom, etc. Really, really enjoyable to see. I would say that this is just a really fun fantasy story. If you're looking for something that's really fun and independently published, then you definitely might want to check this out. It is a fun adventure at the root of it all. That is what this is, and it has some great character moments, some great character progression, some great surprises that I didn't necessarily see coming, and some original ways of using very classic character ideals. So I would highly recommend it. I definitely found that I enjoyed this far more than I anticipated enjoying it, and I read it through very quickly. So I would say that it's a really fun one. I'd love to hear if you guys are going to pick this up. Please do check it out. I'll put a link to his website below where you can check it out. And I definitely enjoyed this, and I'm not just saying that. I did genuinely enjoy this, and it surprised me how much I did, which is lovely to say because I love it when I get a review copy that I know nothing about and it surprises me and it's fantastic. So this I gave a 4 out of 5 stars to. Really, really enjoyable, and one I would love to see more of you pick up. The next one that I have to talk to you about also got a 4-star rating, which is why I've added it into this review. However, I will say that this is a very, very different book. This is a YA book, and probably many of you know I don't actually read a lot of YA. It is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, and I picked this up because I have had Fangirl on my shelf for so many years. I think I've had it for like a year and a half, 2 years. And I've had it on my shelf and I just never got to it because I was always unsure whether or not I would like Rainbow Rowell as a writer. I've always heard great things about her, but I don't really read contemporary, and so I felt maybe I wouldn't like her, and I just kind of had this sort of fear about it being awful. And anyway, I hadn't got to Fangirl basically, but when I heard that she was bringing out a fantasy or a fan fiction fantasy, whatever you want to call it, I decided fine, I will give this one a go. And I actually listened to this on audio, which I really enjoyed, by the way. The audio narrator is fantastic, and I would highly recommend the audiobook if you guys are into audiobooks. So with all that said, this is a really fun, light read. I read this with Eleanor. We did a buddy read, and both of us read it in 2 days, so it's a really quick read to get through. It's very, very light, it's very excitable, it's very fun, and it gives you all of these just happy feelings, because basically what this is a fan fiction that she wrote in Fangirl and made it into a real thing. And it's basically a rip-off of a Harry Potter. It's very aware that it's a rip-off of Harry Potter. If you haven't read Harry Potter, I probably wouldn't recommend this because you're not going to get it, or you're not going to get it as much as someone who has. But this is really fantastic if you have read Harry Potter. It's basically like nostalgia. It's going back, it's reliving things, and it's a lot of fun, but it's all squashed into one book. It's very jam-packed, and there's a lot of reminiscing over things that have happened in very short sentences, so you don't get to relive Harry Potter. It's not that, but it definitely has elements of that, with our main character having a rival who lives very close to him, and they're always in close proximity to one another, and they're always annoying each other, and things go wrong. He also has a really great friend who is a female, who's very intelligent, hence Hermione and Draco, things like that. We also have teachers, and he goes to a magical school, which is actually not in Scotland or wherever Hogwarts is. It's actually in Watford in London, and it's very down to earth. You know, it's very playful. It's a very playful take on Harry Potter, and it's a very energetic, fun one. We follow a character who is called Simon Snow, and he is basically the Harry Potter of this world. He is the chosen one. He is that one who has been prophesied. I don't like prophecy usually, but in this one I felt like the prophecy was definitely made a mockery of, and I liked that. I felt like it didn't take itself too seriously. And we follow Simon Snow as he goes through his life living at this magical academy he goes to with his friends, and he basically lives his day-to-day life. All of his life, since he's discovered that he has magic, he has been at the school and he has been constantly taking on the insidious Humdrum, which is the evil character of this. I will say some of the names in this are a bit bizarre. Calling something a humdrum is a very weird thing to do. Didn't feel quite right to me, it was a bit bizarre, but there you go. And we also have other characters who are called numpties, and they are bad guys essentially. I think this has slight problems in that, like, numpties is a word that doesn't quite mean a bad guy in English. It means that you're just a bit silly and just you're a bit of a plonker, you just do things that are just a bit silly every now and then, you make mistakes, that sort of thing, whereas the numpties in this didn't act like numpties, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's what she was going for, maybe she was going for the irony of them being called numpties and actually not being numpties. Yeah, that was a small complaint I had. But on the whole, this is a really fun, very cutesy story. It definitely has elements of romance. We actually have an LGBTQ storyline. We have characters who are gay within this, which is really fantastic to see because I haven't really read a lot of stuff with gay characters, and I felt like this was handled very nicely, and I didn't feel like the relationship was forced. I felt like it was genuine, even though it is bizarre and it's between some very, very strange combination of characters. I liked it. Simon's roommate is called Baz, and he is the evil character who's basically Draco Malfoy, and they have had a constant rivalry the whole time they've been at school. His father is, you know, a pureblood essentially, and he looks down on everyone else, and that includes Simon himself. So it's a really interesting dynamic that she's basically ripped off Harry Potter. I will say it's basically a rip-off, but it knows it is, and there are some great little moments within this that are just fun. I would say it's nothing hugely surprising. It doesn't feel like it's a hugely original story. It feels like fan fiction. It feels very fast-paced and fun and light, but it doesn't feel like it has a huge amount of depth. It could go on to be a series. I do think it has potential as a series. I don't know if that's what she's planning or not. I think at the moment it is a standalone. But on the whole, I will say that if you are interested in a fiction book which has fantasy elements, makes a mockery of Harry Potter in a nice way, not a terrible way, and also has gay relationships, then this is probably a book you would absolutely love. I did not think I would like this when I went into it. I did not feel like it was going to be a book for me. It didn't sound like my kind of thing, but it was fantastic, and I have to say I am really quite excited to pick up Fangirl now because I really enjoyed this, and I hope that I will enjoy Rainbow Rowell's other stuff and not just her fantasy. But either way, I'm really glad that I've checked out her stuff now and really enjoyed it, and I gave this one also a 4 out of 5 stars. Very enjoyable. So those are the 2 books that I have to talk to you about today. I would love to hear your thoughts on either one of them, whether you have read it, whether you're planning to pick it up. I would love to know, so leave me comments below. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all again soon in another video. Bye. Me and you gonna have a little